They won't forgive us if we don't ask at least some questions about Emmerdale. Now, at a few conventions ago, you had mentioned that you wouldn't be adverse to returning. Now, I know Emmerdale Farm, old school fan, that's what we'll always call it.
Yeah.
Now it's in high def and all that nonsense, and they've messed with the music. Leave it, let it go.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Would you still consider going back?
I would, but I think my agent, about a year ago, threw a pebble in the water and they said, no, the show's moved on now. I know the fans would like him back because I went to one of their big fan things it held in Leeds, and I thought, oh, am I wise because I'm one of the old guys and all the new guys? But I was so pleased that the fan came up to me and Frazer, sign this, sign that, and the new guys were going, who the hell's he? Who's that bloke? Because they wouldn't know me from Adam. Because there's so many young people nowadays, like this Hollywood Oaks meets, Home and Away.
It was just that with one of the characters, the last pseudo Sugden was talking about moving across to Spain. There was whispers that was possibly a storyline. He was going to go. He would find you. You would come back and end it with the farm.
Yes, because I've always said Joe died in a car crash in Spain.
Was never seen.
Never seen. If they really wanted it, that car crash could have been my car could have been stolen, burnt out. The Spanish police find a body, registered to J. Sugden, and the Spanish police being very lazy. Oh, it is Joe Sugden. Don't do DNA. So, and I could be, amnesia. I could have done it to.
Could have done it to get the insurance money.
Yeah.
And all sorts of
things.
So, but no.
He's in a world of his own, he is.
But I want to come back to Doctor Who, you see. That's it.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard from Mr. Moffat yet. I haven't heard from Mr. Moffat. It's just
Stephen, if you're listening.
It's 18 months' time, isn't it?
It
18
is.
months is the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
So,
so you haven't heard anyone being asked. Though if you had been asked, you would have been sworn to secrecy anyway.
I suppose so, yeah.
Anyone being asked?
But I read that he's going to try and get all the doctors. Well, it's impossible for the first three. Probably Tom wouldn't come back out. But he's trying to get all the doctors together. So if I meet him, I say, if you don't want me back as Jamie, I'll come back as Patrick. I just wear a black wig.
That's the next question. But now that you do the voice.
Wear the black, and I do that hand. In fact, when I'm doing the big finish, they'll say, it's amazing, but I have to do the hand movements. I can't just do Patrick like that. I have to do all that. And David Warner, when we do the big finish, it hasn't come out yet, but it'll be advertised soon. I did one with David Warner. And we always take the mickey out. Actors always take the mickey out. If you're doing a Welsh accent, you say, is he meant to be Pakistani then? We're bastards like that, we are. And we did this scene, and David, one of our finest actors, actually said, I have to say, Frazer, that I've just done that scene with you, and I thought I was actually working with Patrick. And that is a great accolade for David Warner to say that to me, one of our finest actors. And I was really chuffed. And again, I love talking about that story because it sounds like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but, it is lovely for an actor to say that to another actor.
On this connected thing, when you talk to some actors who've been in Doctor Who, the person who plays the Doctor is usually either plays the Doctor as if it's an extension of their own character, or someone who's very different. Not naming any names because it's obvious. Was Patrick close to his portrayal in his childlike approach, or because you said you had a lot of fun?
No. Patrick was the only thing that didn't change from his everyday into the studio was his shoes. He wore those hush puppies to rehearsals, and he won as the Doctor as well. He wore his own shoes, but everything else was he switched. That was the Doctor. That wasn't Patrick. He had a twinkle in his eye. He liked the ladies, so did I, which was great. But no, he was quite serious in a lot of things. He'd love a gag, but no, to me he was a believer. To me, I always think, there's a couple of Doctors with Patrick at the end of the episode. You think, oh God, he could die. Whereas some of the later Doctors, no, he'll get out of this. He'll find a way. But Patrick, with his face, go, oh no, stop it. You think, Christ, the water's right. But I would say I'd love to work. People say when he left the show, I said, we would never have left if we'd known Leela was going to be a companion. But can you imagine Leela and Jamie? We're the only two companions that carried knives, you know.
Knives and
None of
skirts.
knives and skirts. Showed our legs. But you're right, you know, we think none of the other companions were armed. I mean, the Brigadier wasn't a companion, Captain Yates wasn't a companion. But can you imagine, Patrick, you know, the water's rising, the snakes and the alligators are about to come down the chute, and I'm about to cut his ropes, and Leela says, I'll cut the ropes. In the end, Leela and Jamie are wrestling on the floor, fighting each other to who's going to, and Dawson, for God's sake, one of you just can't. I've always had this fantasy.
That's got to happen.
I have this fantasy in my mind of Leela and Jamie fighting each other. I use my knife. I use my duck. No, I use my knife. I use a duck. No, my knife. And would you know, and in the end, Jamie wins, ties Leela up, and then
we move on.
That's a different type of fantasy.
With the rope, he's just cut the Patrick free from this.
Always practical.